No, bourgeoisie does not mean bougie on a budget. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about economics, politics, foreign policy, veterans issues, reform the criminal justice system, and drug laws. This channel probably will offend you, but most importantly, this is where socialism comes to die. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Please like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think about what direction the channel's going. Also, let me know what you think about the new intro. I've been playing with it. I'm not great at it. I'm still learning it, but I decided to try to do something a little more interesting, maybe a little more catchy. If you don't like what I'm doing, hit dislike. Tell me why in the comments. As I always say, go ahead and subscribe, and you can hate watch. Still helps the algorithm. The best thing you can do for the channel, honestly, is to like and subscribe to it and share it with your friends. That's the easiest way to make the channel grow. Now, as you can see, I got the background up behind me. And for the record, I just want to point out that the goal of socialism is communism. Vladimir Lenin. Another quote, which I was looking for and I couldn't find it. I know I have it somewhere when I did my videos on communism, is they will slowly erode the American youth because America is not ready to just turn to communism. So as they erode the youth and the youth takes control, then eventually they're going to take over and there'll be communism. From Khrushchev. I'll look it up and I'll post it on the description for the video itself. But what we're actually here to talk about, even though I brought up communism and socialism, is critical theory. And if you don't know the historical context, because people talk about critical legal theory, critical race theory, and critical gender theory, but it's all based in the same critical theory that was developed in the 20s and 30s at it's considered the Frankfurt School. And I'm going to pull up and read to you, and I'll attach the link to this in the description. But here we go. Critical theory, in the narrow sense, designates several generations of German philosophers and social theorists in the Western European Marxist tradition known as the Frankfurt School. Now, with that being said, I would like you to keep in mind, we know what Marx has led to. And what brought me to thinking about this was a video that Patrick Bet Davis did on valuetainment. And if you don't know anything about him, his family came from Iran as refugees. They went through Germany, settled in California. He graduated from high school, went to the United States Army, got out, worked for a while at some fitness centers, and decided he wanted to get into investing. He took that into the insurance business, and now he's a multimillionaire inside the insurance business. So this is an Iranian who is now a multimillionaire that started as a refugee. Now, tell me again how this country does not work, and tell me again how that's not a perfect description of the American dream. But it was actually on the popularity of Marxism within the United States at this point, and why some of us have such a problem understanding it. And the gentleman he interviewed is a Mr. Paul Kinger. And he was talking about when he was in college, writing for his college newspaper. And this was during the fall of the Soviet Union, which he's a little bit older than me, but I do remember the fall of the Soviet Union. I remember the wall coming down in Germany because I was actually in the country when it happened. I remember the ending of the Soviet Union, and most thought that that would be the last we heard of communism or Marxism, unless it was little things here and there. Because in my mind, with the fall of the Soviet Union, we've shown that Marxism doesn't work. And people can say what they want about, well, that was Leninism or Stalinism, or in China it's Maoism. And well, what it's actually brought us is deaths in excess of 50 million people between the countries that termed it communism and Marxism. It's led to gulags, re-education camps, currently still re-education camps in China. And if their system works so well, why did China have to change their economic system from purely communist or socialist to a capitalist type system, which is just overseen by the Chinese Communist Party? They decide who's going to run the businesses. They decide what businesses they let in. But underneath that, it's all capitalist. So if you make them angry, then they can remove a CEO from that position or just take the entire company and give it to somebody else. That's within their wheelhouse to do in China. And Western companies still do business there. Western companies still take advantage of the slave labor. Now, why is Marxism important? Well, it's because everybody sold on his critical race theory, which is based in Marxist philosophy. Now, they'll talk about critical race theory. One group of people will tell you actually goes back to critical legal theory, which let me read to you a little bit about where critical legal theory came from. Okay. It was defined by Richard Delgado, co-founder of the theory, defined it in 2017 as a collection of activists and scholars interested in studying and transforming. I'm sorry, this is critical race theory. Interested in studying and transforming the relationships among race, racism, and power. Nowhere once does it say it goes back to critical theory. They talk about its base in critical legal theory, which was started in the 70s by attorneys that saw a disproportionate number of people of color being convicted more often or receiving higher sentences. And there was a prevalence to a person of color having a higher chance of getting death penalty. And that's true. That's been proven. I won't deny that. And I'm not saying I'm going to deny it. But when they base these in Marxist theories, and yes, let's talk about it because that's right. Leading up to this, I went back and reread the Communist Manifesto again. I've probably read it 4 times in the last 6 months as I'm preparing for these videos to look for things. And once again, we start talking about if it's critical legal, race, or gender theory, one of the biggest things that they bring up in the Communist Manifesto, and it was one of Marx's core beliefs, other than not wanting to get a job and support his family because he was too busy receiving support from Engels. That's right. He sucked off of somebody else like a little parasite. But was the destruction, well, you have the destruction of property rights and everybody owns everything, but it's also the destruction of the traditional family unit. And let me clarify something when I talk about family units. I'm not saying a mother, father, and 2.3 kids or whatever the stat is now. I'm saying a household with 2 parents and children, not designating it can be husband and wife, it could be husband and husband, wife and wife. I don't care about that part. I'm not. If you're happy and you're consenting adults and that's how you want to live your life, I'm all for it. And I'm happy for you that you found that. But these theories that come along, and Black Lives Matter and Antifa have said the same thing. One of their goals is to destroy the traditional family, which goes along with the founders of Black Lives Matter saying that they are trained organizers and trained Marxists. Well, I don't know about most of the people out there, but one of the founders, and I'm not even going to bother to say her name again, just bought 3 homes with a value in excess of $3 million. I can't afford that. And I'm also not a Marxist. And my question to Black Lives Matter is, how many of them benefited from those homes she bought? And the answer is none. Because here's what nobody explains when we start talking about these Marxist theories and these socialist theories and how communism was so great. There's always somebody at the top that's always got more than the person at the bottom. But the person at the bottom who thinks these systems are so great, oh, the government's going to give us UBI and universal basic income, and it's going to happen. No, that's not what happens. In these countries, if there's work that you're going to get paid for, and Zimbabwe is an example of a company founded on Marxist beliefs that went from the breadbasket of Africa to over 50% unemployment and starvation. So explain to me how Marxism was good for the people. Oh, wait, they didn't try it the right way. That's always the answer we get. Okay, we'll take the Soviet Union or the DDR, East Germany. You were assigned a job. You were assigned a place to live. if you do not go to your assigned job, if you attempt to move from your assigned place to live, if you do not attend your party meetings, guess what happened? You went to this place called the Gulag. It's kind of like jail, only worse. That's what really happens in these environments. And now you see with the new administration coming in, even before they took office, there were people in Congress calling for truth and reconciliation councils. And it's becoming the thought police. It's like the Soviet Union or China or North Korea, where you're going to think what they tell you to think, when they tell you to think it, how they tell you to think it. And I, for one, who is a fan of the First Amendment and who uses my First Amendment for this channel, I'm not against diversity training. I think it's a good thing. I think in 23 years in the Army, I served with, next to, and was mentored and taught by men and women of color that made me a better soldier and a better leader in the military. Now, looking at society as a whole, historically, there were huge issues. There are still issues that need to be worked through. But force feeding Marxist-based training to people does not work. And yes, the Lieutenant Colonel in Space Force, who I have not read his book yet because it's on back order on Amazon, but I am prepared to order it and read his book. And I'm not going to say his name again because how much heat is being brought down on him, some of which he may be bringing down on himself, I don't know. I know on active duty, I didn't talk politics outside of my family. I voted, but I didn't talk politics because as an active duty soldier, I didn't feel like it was my place, because you swear an oath to the Constitution, not to a particular president. What happens there, I don't know. I wish him the best, but I would agree with him. This teaching things based in Marxism is a failing proposition, because everything that's ever been based on Marxism is a failing proposition. Because you got to remember who Marx was. He was a guy who lived off of somebody else his entire life, from his parents to Engels, who, oh, by the way, the money Engels used to support him was the money that Engels' father earned as an industrialist. So, in other words, he was one of the bourgeoisie holding down a proletariat. But that's what put food in Marx's mouth, so that was okay, which makes him a hypocrite, which to me, the entire ideology goes out the window, which means critical race theory, since it's based on that, is a bad system. Now, diversity training, I'm okay with that. Diversity quotas, to a point, they have been needed throughout history. Now, what's funny about now with racial quotas is you have people of color that want to kick Asians out of that mix, which I don't understand, because last time I checked, they were a minority population. The largest minority population in the United States are Hispanics. So why would you kick out Asians? Why would you kick out Hispanics instead, since they're bigger than you? Oh, wait. Because when you have equity of opportunity, which we do in this country, whether people accept it or not, that does not guarantee equity of outcome. And equity of outcome is a very scary thing, because no matter how much effort you put into something, a person that puts no effort into it is still going to achieve the same thing. That's what equity of outcome is. That means no matter how much drive and initiative and intelligence and ability you have, that person next to you that has none of those and doesn't even care and barely shows up is going to achieve the same thing you are. That's equity of outcomes. Okay, maybe we still need to do, I believe we have equity of opportunity in this country, but maybe we still need to do some work on it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with admitting that. But critical race theory is another one of those programs where it's about equity of outcomes. And equity of outcomes is not fair to those who work hard. I know that's a social construct, just like race, and which I also find funny, because we're all the same race. We're all humans, and we're part of the human race. There's ethnicities inside that, which is actually what we are. So shouldn't it be critical ethnic training? Wouldn't it? Isn't that a better name for it? All right. So I didn't even delve into the 1619 project. doing a lot of research because it's very complicated and very, what is it based on? What is it not based on? I don't know, which I find kind of weird. It's critical race theory is the same thing. Depending on what source you go to, you get a different root of where it came from. But if you like what I have to say, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, share with people you think, share with people you think would even disagree, because it'll make them stop and think, because that's all I'm asking you to do, is engage your critical thinking skills. Even if you disagree with me, as long as you're thinking about it and making educated decisions. If you don't like what I have to say, go ahead and hit dislike. Tell me why in the comments. Let me know what you think about the intro. I'm still working on it. I'm still learning this stuff. So I truly appreciate that. With that, everyone.